Now, when we are in the contact section, it's worth noting this is a fake database. It's full of fake names with fake information, and I use it as a dummy account for sharing all about how to use these systems. But a lot of times we get videos flagged for sharing information, and that is not the case because this is all fake, fictitious, made up information that we've thrown in here for examples, and that's exactly what we're going to be doing. Now, you probably don't have any information in your account yet, so let's go ahead and very first, let's go ahead and populate our contacts section. Now, we're going to start off by doing that, going to the top right-hand section again, but this time instead of clicking on our initials, we're going to click right under it on these 3 stacked bars. Now, people call it a hamburger menu. I personally don't think it looks like a hamburger, but there's several different ways you could add contacts. The first one, I suppose, is adding this new contact. You could add a single contact, one-off, but we're actually going to do something a little bit better to showcase the power of SAM. So lots of menu options on this drop-down, and we will cover all of them once we have fundamental understanding of SAM. But what we're going to do is we're going to click on this import CSV. Now, CSV file is a file that allows us to take spreadsheet information and plug it in somewhere. There's lots of different files. JPEG, JPG, and PNG are photo files. We have PDF files for documents, and then we have CSV files for all of our different pieces. Now, this is the Excel spreadsheet that I actually used because I am just sharing an example that's got some fake information. But the key here is you want to go through your spreadsheet and make sure it's got good data. Data cleanliness is like the easiest way for you to make sure that your CRM is working well for you. Now, the very first thing you want to do is add little headliners at the top, labeling which each of these rows are going to have. And for this one, like I said, it's just an example. So first name, last name, email, that's really all I needed for the example, but you're going to have lots of different areas, and SAM is going to help you accomplish all of that. But it's worth noting, it's worth showing to you. And now I'm going to click this select CSV. I'm going to take that example sheet and I'm going to click open. Now, because SAM is using AI, what it's doing is it's looking at all of this and it's starting to try and figure out all of the different pieces. If it's not sure, it might click this do not import. And then all we have to do is click and select from the drop down what that specific field is. Super easy to do. And then we can move on with our life. If for some reason this is a CSV that you want to use again and again, maybe it's like a monthly updates, but the fields never really change. Here's what I would encourage you to do. Click this save map and then name the map. Maybe it's like my monthly drive list. Who knows, right? And I can click save. And now if I ever want to load that import, I can load that specific import build out. That way I don't have to reselect these data fields. Now, the other thing you can do, and the reason I had both Mark and my names on this sample data is because I can look through on this right-hand side, the sample data, just to make sure each of these fields is right. Now, the reason for that, maybe one of them's blank and you're not quite sure, but you can skip to the next one and it can do that. Now, on top of all of this, you're probably going to have an area in your CSV that is for tags, but maybe you want to locally tag every single contact in your database. And you can do that at the very top by adding a specific tag. So, oh gosh, what was that mapping called that I just made? The monthly drive list. So maybe because it's my monthly drive list, I would tag it my June monthly drive. Now, this would be a tag that probably wouldn't be on the spreadsheet, but allows me to understand that's what that list is. And then once this is all ready to go, all we do is hit this green begin import. Sam's going to get to work. From there, your database may take a little bit of time. In fact, we actually have a record for who has the largest databases. And currently our winner is a broker out of Texas with over 60,000 active leads, contacts, past clients, and customers all inside his database. Now, he does have a team of 5, so there's that. But if for some reason you have a larger database, that's the record. And we have been able to successfully handle it. But because large databases do sometimes require a bit of additional help, here's what I would encourage you to do. Reach out to us if you are getting ready to import a very large database. We would love to help you. You can do that a couple of ways. The easiest would be to reach out to help@workflowsecrets.info. We can help you get that along the way. Now, once we have our database imported, there is another way in which we could add contacts. And this is a really cool one because this is going to showcase Sam's prowess to help us with AI. And that is this smart import single contact. So Sam is going to open up this area for us to add just plain block text. So here's the scenario. Maybe you are on social media and someone reaches out to you and they want to start working with you. Nice work. But we need to actually add them to our database. Well, maybe we can just copy all of their information, then we paste it in here. Or maybe we have been emailing back and forth with a lead, and at the bottom of that email, they have a signature with all of their information. And so what we could do is we could actually copy that information, and then we could plug it in here, something like that. Now, it does not need to be in any specific format. It does not need any specific rows or indications of what this is. Sam is actually really good at understanding exactly what we need to have. And we would just hit this OK, and Sam would start to import it. It would know this is my first name, last name. It would guess that this is my business. This is our website. And then this would be a phone number, right? It's a fictitious phone number, clearly. And from there, Sam would be able to build a contact card. So that's really cool. And that, again, is one of those ways that AI is really great at handling data. And so it can help us out. So that is how we're going to bring information into our actual databases. But there's a lot of really cool things that we can do. Now, again, we're going to cover most of these on this drop-down menu a little bit later. But for the sake of you understanding, one of the really cool things that you can do is you can filter any of these specific rows. And how we have the contact database built is you can actually use what is called Boolean logic, which means and or statements, to filter multiple things. Now, I have been in real estate technology for the last 6 years. My career in real estate technology professionally started off in customer support. What I learned over a year and a half of working with agents each and every day is that a lot of agents really struggle with being able to have their databases organized properly. And one of the most frequently asked ways in which they were hoping that their databases could help find that information was using that Boolean logic, that and or statements, which means I need this detail and this detail, or comma, I need this detail or this detail. And that would bring a list for them. But truthfully, most systems were not built to do that. And so that is something that I put into Sam to make sure that you guys had access to. So you can do that. You can also use specific layouts. So maybe you want to only see what I would call our call list layout. It's going to give first name, last name, and then these fictitious phone numbers. Well, you could set your layout to that. You can actually build layouts using these 3 stacked bars under that layout section. But the other way in which you can filter out your lists is by clicking this select filter. Now from here, I'm going to click this edit filter because this is how we were able to help our good friend in Texas with his 60,000 contacts. We actually built this so that it could make loading much easier for him. That way he didn't have to spend 10 minutes loading his database each time he needed to click into it. So from here, you can select the specific attributes of the specific narrowed down list you want to see, including narrowing it down by specific tags. So once you do that, you can also save these filters and give it a name. You could set that as your default to always be the one that populates, or on the very top, you can select from those that you've already saved so that you can see this. So this is a really great way for you to just kind of shorten down that list to the contacts that you're most frequently looking for. And then once you have all of this, on the bottom right-hand side, you just click Show Contacts. And then once you have that filter built, you can either toggle between the filters, you could build out new filters, you can do lots of things. So that is how we're able to build out all of our lists, how we're able to bring contacts in. So now we have data inside our databases. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to click this lookup contact by clicking on the little contact icon, and it allows me to do a single search. Now, this single search is great because it's actually skipping past all of the layouts that I have, and it is going to look for anyone that meets that criteria. In this case, it's going to be my contact card. So I'm going to click into this contact card, and we're going to go ahead and get started looking at this. Now, this is pretty standard to what most CRMs are going to have, but there are a lot of really small things that are going to make SAM stand out that we're going to draw attention to. So first name, last name, company, street address, phone numbers, all pretty standard. Now, one thing that's worth noting is you can click this little icon to the right, and they are going to have a drop down. You can add additional numbers. You could also go in and you could edit any of the numbers. You could add them to a do not call list. You can include any notes as to why you've added this. And you can also, in the specific phone number, label whether it's the primary, whether it's the home, whatever it is. It's super customizable to what you need. The same goes for your email addresses. You have the ability to click a drop down as well as send unsubscribes. Now, the other thing that you can do is you could click on the actual icon and you can choose whether you want to send them a SMS message, whether you want it to dial, if you have your Twilio set up, as well as add to a call list, which will drive them to the calendar. We'll look at that a little bit later. And then the same goes for the email. You can actually send an email, or you can view all of the emails that you've ever sent to them by clicking this. And because I am using Google, it's actually going to pull up my Google inbox. It's going to filter for that specific email address, and it's going to allow me to see any emails that have gone through that. So that's a really easy way for Sam just to help us look at that data, focus on that data. Now, past that, categories are pretty common in real estate. Your A categories are the folks that are probably going to get a gift for Christmas. The D categories are like the friends of a friend who had a barber, who went to an event, who met a guy, who knew a guy, who talked to a guy. Kind of garbage contacts, but we still have their information, and maybe we can work to build them into C contacts and B contacts, and then finally A contacts, and that happens all the time. So from there, you have your types, you have your status, you have your milestone, you have relationship status, you have your source, where they came from. All of this stuff was what we had in our email leads to Sam, and those get pre-filled out. Now, here is the two fields that I want to really draw attention to. Inside of Sam, we have the ability to use AI to help us in a lot of capacities, but at Workflow Secrets, we have this idea on our coaching side called a world-class client experience. This is an idea that Mark has championed in his coaching. And world-class client experiences allow you to show up as the excellent business professional that you are in ways that are going to make such a memorable impact that people can't help but want to work with you, can't help but want to send people to you. So that's the ultimate goal. And what we can do using these two fields is start to personalize these messages to the actual recipient. So instead of us sending a message that's written in our voice and we're just like sending it to them, we're actually building messages. They're written in our voice, but they're crafted specifically for that person. So hopefully that makes sense. And I'm going to show you exactly how we do that. It is done through their contact preference. Now, I like to say I'm a millennial. Don't call me And I'm being a little fictitious. I'm being a little funny there, but it's kind of true, right? I probably prefer email or SMS. Now, when I indicate that inside of SAM, what SAM will be able to do is anytime a message is going out to someone, say my preference is email, it can actually convert that message into an email. Or maybe my preference is SMS. Anytime I was sending out a message that was written as an email, Sam can actually convert that into an SMS and send it to me in an SMS native way. So that's how we're able to customize that experience. We'll actually look at what that looks like a little bit later. And the other area that it can do that is through the language we speak. I talk to you guys about our good friend in Texas. Well, one of the things about his business specifically is that they work with individuals in Texas as well as in Mexico. And so there is not only a native English speaking, but there's also a native Spanish speaking clientele that he works with. So being able to set up the specific language that they prefer allows Sam to translate messages as it's being sent out into that preferred language. How cool is that? This is how we drive that personal world-class client experience. So in selecting the specific language that they prefer, it can also help do that. Now, under that, we have access to our tags. You can add tags. You can actually go in here and you can search for tags. You can add, build tags. We have important dates, and the important dates are what we actually trigger our automations on. When workflow automations came into the industry, just based on what I remember about Mark working on. Now, I remember being a child in his basement and looking at the marker board that was on the wall that I actually now use all the time, which is kind of full circle for me. And I remember being a kid. I wasn't really a kid. I was in high school, but he was explaining to me this idea of workflow automations, and it right over my head. Didn't make sense to me at all. But essentially, a workflow automation is a series of tasks that we have identified and that we have built into our software to go sequentially from one to the next in some sort of cadence or some sort of timeline. So maybe one day after it'll do this, one day after it'll do this, right? Workflow automations. Now, that is a really great way of building out these automations, and it's how they've done it for years and years. But using important dates is actually completely rethinking about workflow automations, because instead of asking you to eat the entire elephant all at once, which on the extreme, I've heard of agents who have like 170 step workflow automations, and that's one single automation. We now are able to look at specific important dates. Each of these specific important dates is going to have its own small automation associated to it. So what that means is if I learn your birthday, I can add it right here. When I add your birthday and I have a routine built out, which is our modern workflow automation, we're going to dive into that a little bit later. You're going to learn all about them and how we can build them. But when I fill in that birthday and I have that birthday automation, boom, that birthday automation immediately starts. I didn't have to go and start it manually. I didn't have to do anything other than build out the process by thinking about, man, what is a really great experience I could give someone on their birthday? And then I allowed it to work. So this is a really cool way for us to rethink automations. This is me just giving you a little bit of a touch into it so that we can revisit this idea a little bit later. Now, outside of that, you can look at your calendar to see all of the different things that have gone out. We have agreements to look at all of the different agreements. You can keep track of social links. You can write notes. You can also have connections. Now, this is one of the things that Mark is most excited about, because connections is a way for us to connect different contacts. You can add a connection on the right-hand side, and all you have to do is select a specific contact, and then you identify what is their connection to you. Under that, the reciprocal, I'm his son, and I could add any notes. I could click if it was a referral, but this is a way for us to build those connections. And the really cool part is I can click on this connection and it'll take me to that specific contact card. Oh, and by the way, in his connection section, there's my information. We can do checklists. We'll talk about that while we're talking about those routines. You can add files, external docs, which is a way for you to take URLs that you frequently use and add those so that you have the ability to do that. Now, when you build out your external docs, you can actually build custom merge fields that are pulling from URLs, and we can do some really cool stuff there. I have an entire training on building out a world-class client experience for your post-sale clients. I'll throw that up right here, but essentially what we're able to do when we do something like that is we are able to gather all types of URLs for specific products that a person might need after the sale. And then we can build out a routine that will send them recurring messages reminding them, hey, you need to change your air filter. Here's the specific one you need. It's going to pull that URL and then they're going to have access to it. Now, the kicker there is if you do it right, you can get an affiliate account set up and you get a couple extra bucks in commissions. That's pretty cool. We can also do for different search preferences, meeting locations, favorites. But then the two things that I want to draw attention to are these personal details as well as these priorities. Now, personal details are your likes, your dislikes, goals, hobbies, whatever details you learn about a person. Something I've learned about real estate agents is you guys all the time are talking and learning about people, which is really great. And you take all of those details and you throw them in your CRMs. But remember how I was talking about they just hold on to information. So you're probably taking all of those details that you worked really hard to learn about someone. You're putting it in your CRM. You're doing the right things. And your CRM is just going to hold on to it. It's hidden behind 3 drop downs. It's never going to do anything. Well, the power in SAM is SAM can actually look at those personal details, can look at those priorities, and it can use those to help you craft custom messages specifically for that person. So let's go ahead and let's take this full circle and let's look at these personal details. So maybe something about me that I would like you to know is that I love coffee. In fact, the darker the roast, the better. I grind my own beans and I drink 2 to 3 cups of coffee each day, lack on Sundays. What a weird personal detail, but that's a great example. It's a fun fact that you learned about someone. So we take this personal detail. Let's go ahead and click this send email, and you would have the ability to send a one-off message. Now you could go, good evening, Cody, and you could write that out yourself, but I'm actually going to let Sam do this. So I'm going to click this, let Sam create content. And this is going to be where the magic inside Sam happens. And I'm going to tease this little feature for you guys because it's one of the cool things about the contact database. I'm going to send a birthday message to this contact using the personal details section to make the message feel special for them. Leave it at that. So something really simple. What is my overall goal? What do I want this message to accomplish? I want them to get a birthday message and use the personal details. So I called attention to that. And now Sam in literal seconds has a message written for me. Is it ready to hit send? No. Spend a couple minutes editing, right? But also enjoy the day. Remember to indulge in your favorite coffee. After all, a good cup is perfect. Companion to celebrate another year of life. Boom. How cool is that? Sam was able to take that personal detail and create a one-off message for me specifically about that. Now, the priorities would be, what are the things that they're looking for in a property? Maybe I'm looking for a 4-bed, 6-bath. I know that's not true. That's kind of a funny thing, right? A fenced in backyard and a salt water pool. That's what I could be looking for. Sam could use those priorities. But just like in the setup, we were sharing details about us. In the contact, we can share details about them. And Sam's going to be able to learn about that. So this is the power in the contacts section of Sam for us to actually understand and use the AI component to help us build out a better world-class client experience.